Hello, welcome everyone to the second video of this course. In this video lesson, I'm going to talk about how programming works, or how do these programming languages actually work. Now we know that in order to solve a program or solve a problem, or to automate a task, or to do some given functionality using computers, we need to write code. And once we write the code, we get the desired output. I mean, the computer does the thing for us that we mentioned in that particular code that we have written, and finally we get the output that we want. So we are making the computers do the work for us. But how exactly does this whole process of programming works? How do these programming languages work? How are we able to communicate with the computers, and how are we able to make computers do stuff for us, and how are we able to get the output, the desired output, by just writing a code, a program, by simply writing a code or a program. So in this video lesson, I'm going to talk all about that. So to start, I'm going to categorize the whole process of programming into 5 steps. So I'm going to go through each of these 5 steps, and I'm going to tell you what each step does and what's the role of each step. So these are the 5 steps. The first step is to write a program. The second step is to compile the program, and the third step is to run the compiled program, and the fourth step is that the program performs the given operation, and the fifth step is the step that we actually need, which is desired output is obtained, which means we get the output that we need. So if you notice closely here, the steps 4 and 5 are actually the steps where we get the fruits for the hard work that we have done. So these steps 4 and 5 are not dependent on any programming language. They are programming language independent, which means whatever the programming language you've chosen to write the code, these steps 4 and 5 stay the same. They won't change. Any programming language performs the given operation that's written in that particular program or the code that you have written, and finally once that code is executed, the computer gives you the desired output. So these two steps 4 and 5 are same for every programming language. And also these two steps are the output steps, which means we get what we need from the computers. So whereas the steps 1, 2 and 3 are actually they depend on the programming language that you're choosing to write the code, which means they vary for each and every programming language, or they can stay the same, but it all depends on what programming language that you are using. For example, the first step, writing a program, you can write a program in different programming languages by following different methods and all that stuff, and then you can compile the program by using the compiler of that particular program, which varies for each and every programming language, because each and every programming language has its own compiler, and then running the program also involves different process for each and every programming language. So I'm going to go through each of these steps to tell you or explain you or brief you about each of these steps. So the first step, writing a program, and it's simple. There are different languages to write code. There are numerous programming languages to write code, like Java, Python, JavaScript, PHP, Ruby, R, C, C++, C Sharp, and there are literally many programming languages that are available, open source, which means free to use, which you can use to write your code or write your program. So why are there these many programming languages? If that's your question, like if you are like, why do we need these many programming languages? Why can't we just write bring all the coding process to just one programming language, choose one programming language, and use only that programming language to do anything with the computer? So why is that not happening? That is because each and every programming language is designed for its own purpose. So for example, if you take Python is a scripting language. It's used for automating tasks. It's very good in automating the tasks. It's very good for machine learning and all that kind of stuff, and all that kind of problem statements. And similarly, if you take Java, if you don't know, Java is the official language for Android development, which is chosen by Google. So if you want to make an Android app, you want to learn Java, you want to write a code in Java. So Java is for web development, and C language is used for desktop applications development, and for Objective-C is used for iOS app development. So similarly, each and every programming language has its own thing, has its own application. So yeah, that's why we have a lot of programming languages. And when you are writing or deciding to develop an application, you have to choose the right programming language which correctly suits the application that you're trying to develop. For example, if you're trying to develop an Android app, you would want to choose Java, because that's what is officially chosen by Google, and that suits the best. So yeah, that's pretty much the answer to why you need different programming languages. So, and each of these programming languages have their own grammar. And the technical form that we use when it comes to programming is syntax. We don't call grammar anymore, we call it syntax. But syntax is basically just like grammar. So for example, I'm speaking to you in English language. So how are you able to understand that I'm speaking to you in English language, and how are you able to interpret the message I'm trying to deliver to you? It's because you know the grammar of English. Grammar in the sense, not like strict grammar, the past tense, plural tense, and all this stuff. Basically, grammar, let's define grammar as a set of rules that frame a language. So there are set of rules for English that make English a language, and that's why by knowing those rules, by knowing the meaning of each and every word in English, you understand, or you are able to interpret what I'm trying to deliver. So this grammar, what it does is it enables two parties to properly communicate with each other without any error. So in the same way, programming languages have their own rules, which means when you're writing a programming language, you have to follow these syntax rules. So if you miss any of these syntax rules, your program is not going to be compiled, because the programming language that you're writing has some set of rules, and if you don't follow those rules, the compiler doesn't quite understand what you're trying to do there. For example, if the programming language that you're writing has a rule that each statement should end with a semicolon, then you must end each and every statement with a semicolon. And if you don't do so, you're going to get a syntax error while compiling the program. It's because you have missed the syntax. You're not following the syntax of that particular programming language. So in order to write code, you have to follow the syntax of that particular programming language. And yeah, that's basically all about the syntax. And then the third thing about programming languages is that they have their own compilers and interpreters. So yeah, that's compilers and interpreters. And if you don't know what's meant by compilers and interpreters, don't worry, I'm going to get to that right away. And then the final step and the important step is that the same algorithm or logic can be implemented in any language. So what this means is, no matter if you're using Python or Java or C or C++, you can do the same task in any given programming language. So the programming language doesn't really matter. You can do the same task. You can make the computer do the same task for you by using any particular programming language. You can choose C if you are very good in C, or if you like C for some reason, or you can choose Java. It's all up to you. You can make the same algorithm work in any programming language. So learning the programming language actually doesn't matter. What matters is how well are you able to build your own logic, and how well are you able to write your own algorithm in order to solve a particular program. So once you come up with the algorithm to solve a particular program, it's pretty easy to implement it in any programming language. All you need to know is just the syntax of that particular programming language, as I've told you, and that's it. You can simply implement it in any particular programming language by doing that. And that's how programming must be learned. It must not be learned as a language specific thing. You must not be like, I want to learn Java or I want to learn Python. You must be like, I want to learn to write code. No matter what programming language it is, I just want to write my own code in any programming language. So that's how you learn programming language. It's very easy to go and get to know the syntax of each programming language. It will take hardly a day to get to know the syntax of each programming language, and then you can implement your algorithm by using the syntax, and you can use the compiler of that particular program to run your program. And if what all I'm talking doesn't make any sense to you, or you couldn't understand a little bit of it, don't worry. I'll make it clear for you in the next steps. So the next step in the programming process is compiling a program. So once you have written a code, you need to compile that code or program using the compiler of that particular programming language. So as I've told you in the previous step, each language has a compiler of its own. So Python has a compiler of its own, Java has a compiler of its own, C of its own, C++ has a compiler of its own, and every language pretty much has a compiler of its own. So what you want to do is you want to make use of these compilers to compile your program. But if you're hearing this word compiler for the first time, then you might be asking, what is this compiler? What is the use of these compilers? Why are you stressing on the point that you have to compile the program? What exactly is meant by compiling the program? So in order to know the answer for this, I will need to tell you a long story, and I'm ready to do it because it's really interesting. So what is compilers? What is the use of compilers? Why is compiling necessary? So in order to answer this question, I must start with this statement that computers understand only binary data. If you don't know this, because it's a pretty like a universal statement, it's taught like in second standard or third standard to all these people. But anyways, if you don't know what's meant by binary data, then it's simple. It's basically zeros and ones. For example, this is some binary data. It's some sequence of zeros and ones. And why? What is this binary data? Exactly what's this binary data? Well, zeros indicate off, and 1 indicate the on state here. So 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1 1, all these all these sequence of zeros and ones indicate the status of a switch. A switch has two functions or two states. It's off and on. So yeah, that's basically what binary data indicates. Zeros indicates off and 1 indicates on. And if you have no idea why I'm talking about off and on here, then let me tell you, trust me, all we can do with the computer when it comes to the lowest level of computing, all we can do with computers is just to literally turn the switches inside it off and on. That's it. That's all we can literally do with any computer. Now, don't take computers as a useless thing with this, because by just turning things off and on, by just turning the switches inside the computers off and on, we are actually able to build rockets. We are actually able to build robots. We are actually able to build artificial intelligent robots, machine learning algorithms and all that stuff. We are able to do it just by turning the switches inside the computer off and on. Yes, this is exactly possible. Isn't it really cool? Isn't it really interesting? So when it comes to a computer, we call these switches as transistors, and a typical personal computer which you are using right now to watch this video contains billions of transistors inside them, and the transistors here depends on the processing speed of your computer, the processor that your computer uses. So more the number of transistors, more the processing speed, and vice versa. So yes, it's basically just comes down to just turning the switches off and on. That's how computers work. So now any program that you write needs to be converted into binary, because as I've told you, all we can do with computers is just turn the switches inside them on and off. So any program that you're writing, you're writing a program obviously by using English alphabets, which means A to Z, and you're using numbers 0 to 9, you're using special characters and all that stuff. So all this program data that you're writing, all this program that you're writing, it needs to be converted into a sequence of zeros and ones so that computer actually understands it. Because if you just send the data, or you literally can't send the data even. So basically the program that you write needs to be converted into binary, and compilers convert your source code into the machine code or byte code. Well, this is a whole new statement, isn't it? Well, I'll explain you in a bit. So source code is basically the actual program that you write. So this is a technical term for the program that you write in a programming language. We call this a source code. And as I've told you, compilers convert your source code into the machine code or bytecode. Well, machine code here is the technical term for the binary data that can be interpreted by your computer, and this is basically the code that can be understood by a computer, which means, as I've told you, computers only understand binary, so this is a binary code. So your source code is converted into machine code by your compiler, and it all depends on the programming language you use, because some programming languages, compilers, what they do is they convert it into a bytecode, and this bytecode is basically an intermediate code that can be executed by the virtual machine of that language. And this is not actually a binary code, but it gets converted into a machine code, which means it gets converted into the binary code eventually. So many popular programming languages, many recent programming languages like Python, Java, they actually convert the source code. The compilers of these languages, they actually convert the source code into an intermediate code, the bytecode we call. So this bytecode eventually needs to be converted into machine language, because computers, remember, they don't understand the bytecode as well. All they can understand is machine code, which means zeros and ones. So why are the compilers converting the source code into bytecode instead of directly converting them into machine code? Well, that's because of, in order to improve the processing of your program and to inculcate the memory management on all that stuff. So it all depends on the feature of that programming language. If that programming language is a good programming language, it can consume a lot less computer resources while it's running your program. So to improve all this stuff, a compiler converts it into a bytecode, and this bytecode is actually run by the virtual machine of that particular programming language, and then eventually it's converted into a machine code. So that's how it works. That's the whole use of compilers. Compilers convert your source code into machine code or bytecode, and eventually the source code is converted into the machine code. So if anyone asks you what is the use of compilers, you have to remember that compilers are responsible for converting your source code into the machine code. So no matter if they're converting it into an intermediate bytecode, eventually it's going to be converted into a machine code. So yeah, they are actually responsible for making your computer understand your program by converting your program into binary data, into the machine code that the machine, which means your computer, can understand. So that's basically compiling. That's compiling for you. That's how compiling works. That's why we need to compile our programs, because yeah, that's just a necessary step. We just cannot skip compiling, can we? Right. So the third step is running the program. So once the source code gets converted into the machine code, it can finally be read by the computer, and the computer understands what it needs to do, and based on this machine code, it performs the operation. And note here, when I said it performs the operation, it's nothing but what it can do. It can just turn off the transistor. That's it, right? So yeah, that's how that's the whole running the program all about. So once the source code gets converted into the machine code, it can be finally read and then interpreted by the computer, and then the process continues. The functionality mentioned in the program will get executed by the computer. And then the fourth and fifth steps, as I've told you, are the steps where we get the fruitful results for the program that we have written. So yeah, they are basically, the computer just executes the machine code and the output is displayed. That's it. And the output is displayed. You can display the output on your terminal, or you can send the output to a connected device or to a device on your network. You can basically choose whatever you want to do with this output which is obtained. So yeah, that's all about how programming languages work. And I hope you got a basic idea about what programming languages actually do and how they work and all that stuff. So thanks for watching, and in the next video lesson we are going to get into real business, which means what we are going to do is we are going to start writing code in Python and Java. And so I'm very much excited for the next video lesson. Hope you feel the same. So I'll meet you in the next video lesson.